Is it possible to have a second Scottish independence referendum without the permission of Prime Minister Boris Johnson? That's what I want to talk about in this video. I'm Mark, greetings from Germany, welcome to my channel and welcome to another Brexit video. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, click the little bell and the notifications so you won't miss my new Brexit videos in the future. Aidan O Neill, an expert in constitutional law and as a QC involved in some of the cases at the Scottish Court of Sessions during Brexit, said that the Scotland Act could allow Holyrood to legislate for a second independence referendum. And just to say it in the first place, he is against the UK government refusing the permission to do so. But he does believe it is possible without the permission. But he already admits that this conclusion has to be tested in court, and he already said that MPs or MSPs could go to the Court of Sessions to have this tested. He says that the Scottish Assembly, under the Scotland Act as it is right now, has the right to legislate for a second referendum and then having it without asking permission from UK government. But there are different legal opinions even in Scotland. And in the whole discussion, by the way, he didn't say the UK government has to grant this permission and has to make a Section 30 order. He completely left that out and is just showing this plan B, as you might call it. The problem with this plan is Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, said she doesn't just want a consultative referendum. And that's what that would be. Because one thing is clear, if Holyrood would do that, it would never be a binding referendum. And that's why Nicola Sturgeon says she wants democracy to be respected, and she obviously means the last election and the big majority of MPs the SNP got in Scotland. But there is one important point in the Scotland Act regarding this consultative referendum, which might be the only chance Nicola Sturgeon will have in the end, although she says now she doesn't want it. If she has no way to get the permission, and I doubt that courts will judge that she can do a binding referendum without the permission of the UK government. And that lies in the Scotland Act itself. It allows Holyrood to legislate on everything that just regards Scotland. But as soon as it really affects the Union, they need permission from the UK government to do so. And a consultative referendum, from my point of view, even if there are doubts in Scotland itself, but from my point of view, and I don't know UK and Scottish law well enough, but I studied law in Germany and I can compare that to a certain point because the principle is the same. And when you look at the Scotland Act, that says only if the Union is affected, they need permission, and you do a consultative referendum that does not affect the Union because the referendum on its own doesn't have any effect at all in the first place. So it wouldn't fall under these restrictions. And if the Scottish Court of Sessions or even the United Kingdom Supreme Court will decide the same way as I think they would if that goes to court, and Nicola Sturgeon doesn't have any alternative than having this consultative referendum, and if she does that, and hypothetically the majority of the Scottish people in this referendum say they want to leave the Union, they would get Boris Johnson in some trouble as well. Of course, that wouldn't be a referendum on this, as they called it, golden standard, because the UK government and the Scottish government agreed on having the last referendum. But there would be a referendum which would not be binding, but the last two weren't binding either, by the way. Also, the Brexit referendum was not binding. The decision of Parliament to follow that referendum was the binding part, not the referendum itself. And so it was a consultative referendum. And if there's a consultative referendum in Scotland and the Leave side wins, that would get Boris Johnson into a corner, because he's using the argument for Brexit, that it's the will of the people, that they decided in a non-binding referendum to leave the EU. But what will he do if the Scottish people in a non-binding referendum will decide to leave the UK? That could be quite interesting then. So now I think we will see this in front of the courts, because the Scotland Act never mentioned any kind of referendum, only the fact if it has effect on the Union then, and so on. And so the courts will have to decide on that, and I do believe the courts will decide that a non-binding referendum can be performed or legislated by Holyrood on its own. And then it will be quite interesting what the outcome will be. And on the other hand, once again, I'll say, I also believe that Nicola Sturgeon in the end won't have another chance than to do that. I don't see any other alternative what she can do to have a referendum than this, what I call Plan B in my thumbnail. I don't know what the result of such a referendum would be. I don't know what Boris Johnson would do in a case like that. But still, I do believe that it's that what we're going to see in 2021, I presume, after the elections in Scotland, if the SNP can maintain the big majority there. If you're interested in another video about Brexit, I just put it here in the end screen for you. I'll see you there. Viel Spaß!